Welcome to Screen Quest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined by Will Rotondi.
Hey, how's it going?
And May Finch.
Hello, hello.
On this week's episode and our final 3 episodes of the year, we are going to be talking about some holiday favorites for our special winter-themed run of December in Screen Quest, just like we did last year. So first up on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about A Christmas Prince, the Netflix exclusive holiday film in kind of the vein of Hallmark, I guess, right? Like we would say, like it's kind of in that vein. Yeah.
Hallmark means soap opera.
Yeah. And of course, we'll be drawing a side quest with a little holiday spin. But first, at my co-host request, here is a Godzilla update. So sadly, the Thanksgiving holidays put me behind several days. I intended to watch a film each day while celebrating Thanksgiving with my family, but they had other plans. They met a retired assassin by the name of Jonathan Wick and decided that was going to trump all other watching for the duration of the trip, which is, fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Wait, hold on. John Wick versus Godzilla.
I mean,
who wins?
John Wick.
Does John Wick have a pencil?
John Wick. 100%.
I feel like John Wick would, I don't know if he could kill Godzilla, but I feel like John Wick would definitely not die. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that fair? We'll call it a draw.
Yeah.
He would evade.
I don't know. Godzilla's not bulletproof, right?
It depends on what iteration you watch, but bullets are largely ineffective. Missiles are largely ineffective. Depending on, again, the generation, the film, anytime that, in the rare instance that Godzilla has been killed, it's either because of another monster or some kind of really wild scientific invention, like the oxygen destroyer in the original Godzilla film. So maybe with the right tools.
Forever.
Yeah, stalemate. I like it. Fair enough. So speaking of Godzilla, I have entered well into the 90s. I have about 7-ish films left to go, I think, by my reckoning, somewhere around there. Almost done with the I hope I'm pronouncing this Heisei era of films, which was like late 80s through the mid 90s, and then there was a brief pause, and then the Millennium era began, like with Godzilla 2000. These have been all over the map in the best possible way. So like the first film, Godzilla 1985, or The Return of Godzilla, depending on the country, very serious, very much like a tragedy. Humans dealing with Godzilla as this force of nature. He's the antagonist of sorts. And then from there, like they're all over the place. Like I'm almost done watching Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, like from 91. And boy, it's got time travel. It has the worst possible special effects for like an android, including the sound effects that play. Like this thing could be on Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's that bad, but it's also great. Like I've been having a ball with it. And I feel like the films kind of go along those spectrums where it's either real serious or like they just lean into the goofiness. So I'm excited to see what the Millennium era brings. I know there's some favorite films in that one, including what is it called, Godzilla Final Wars, where he faces off against like every single opponent and just like a battle royale marathon. Like it's like 90 to I don't know, 100 minutes of just like him fighting opponent after opponent. And I think the quickest victory is over the American Matthew Broderick Godzilla. Like he kills him in like 20 seconds. So that movie looks batshit. I can't wait to get to it. Of course, I've been doing this all in anticipation of Godzilla -1, which I am dragging Marianne to, I think on Tuesday of this week. Nice. I'm very excited. It's currently sitting at a 97% according to critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 98% audience score. So doing
Wow.
well. Hopefully the box office like reflects that, because I think when Godzilla's done well, and arguably the Japanese understand him better than anybody for good reason, because they've been making those films the longest. I'd like to see more. So there's your Godzilla update. I'll let you know when I conclude and get into the Millennium Era, because man, like I've seen some clips and it looks anime in the best possible way. Like it's got that like kind of rollicking like music, and just like a lot of shouting, and just like all kinds of really really wild plots, like aliens designing a battle royale for Godzilla, like by pitting him against other monsters. So I'm here for it. All right, well,
Awesome.
let's see what fate has in store for us for side quests, and let's see if we can make it holiday themed. If we can't, we'll draw another one. Some of these might be a little tougher than others. So before we started the show, I was like, hey, as an example, if we get written in the stars, you would find your favorite holiday film from the year you were born. And that's what I drew. So
Yes.
we'll cut around this, because I'm sure we're all going to need to take a quick peek at the old Google search. So if you guys want to pull up, Will and I have the same birth year, so this
I
is
know. I'll
fighting
fight
over.
you.
Who wants to go first? So what we've done, audience, is like, because our birth years are a little bit scant of Christmas films for some of us, or scant with like memorable ones, we are instead like kind of talk about our earliest Christmas film memory. So from like young, like childhood. So Will, do you want to go first? You're
Sure.
first on my vertical hierarchy today. So
Yep. I am going to submit for the Midnight Society's consideration Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from '64. That's the little claymation one that I'm pretty sure is what got spoofed in Elf later, or at least that style.
oh yeah.
I really don't remember much of what happens in this movie, to be honest with you. But I just remember really enjoying like the animation style in it, because I was really intrigued by claymation and kind of like Gumby and all that from back in the day. And so I just remember around Christmas time it was like this. And I won't mention any other films, so I don't like copy anybody else's stuff, but this was definitely one that I remember on the holidays, especially as a kid growing up and watching and enjoying. But also like in hindsight, thinking about what a jerk everybody was to Rudolph.
Oh my god. I was just gonna say,
Like,
like, I saw it recently, and like my big takeaways were like, I can see why like it's iconic. Like a lot of it's like held up and it's amazing. But Santa is like such a racist dick, like, or discriminatory dick. Again, not really racist, but like he just discriminates so hard. You're like, this is the guy who's checking off naughty or nice. Like, really, this
yeah,
guy? Like, it was just
yeah,
like, sorry, Rudolph, but yeah, with your red nose, like you're not, can't be on the team. Like, what?
yeah,
Yeah. And then the
yeah.
elves are
Santa's a
really mean
dick.
to the elf that wants to be a dentist. They're like, oh,
Oh,
like, yeah. So there's a lot of hating in this, but it all does come around, in a way, like at the end. But that's a great one, man. You should rewatch it. It's nice. Have you seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion one, May?
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. That was actually going to be mine, and I'm quickly changing it now that
oh
Will is
no, I'm
Oh.
sorry.
That's all right. I'll go next.
I thought if I went way back in time, like before I was born, that we'd be saved, but my fault.
They
Nah,
had
man, because
a New
like,
Year's one with Rudolph too. Like, did you guys know that?
What? Is
It's
there like an
wild.
really?
expanded universe?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. It's a weird ass plot. That's all I'll say. Or there's a bird involved somehow. Like, I don't know. It's like some kind of strange like plot where Rudolph once again's gotta like help save the holiday. Less memorable than Christmas, obviously. Well, I'll save us like, or I'll save May, I should say, a little bit of time. My pick is like Home Alone, the original. Like I remember
Mm,
seeing that in theaters and just like pissing myself like with laughter, like as a kid. Like, man, like that movie is so primed to make little kids like squeal with joy at adults like getting their ass just destroyed by all kinds of booby traps and fun stuff. Improbable as hell. You watch it as an adult, you're like, even back in the 80s, like this would have been much easier to address, right? Like, surely. but it's a fun movie. And yeah, it's one of those, like, I think it came out like what, 90-ish, like, so yeah, it would have been for, let's see, Home Alone.
That was 1990.
Yeah, it would have been 4. So very, like, maybe my earliest like film going like memory for like the cinema, like went to go see it with my dad, and he laughed obviously as well. Like, so yeah, that's definitely a classic.
Did you ever make
That's
any of
awesome.
like your own booby traps at home after that?
I can't really recall if I ever did. I'm pretty sure that every parent or like adult figure like who was adjacent to a kid who was into that film was like, this is make believe, this is pretend, do not rig your like lamp up to like blow up on like an adult, or like try to like do something that's gonna hurt somebody, like, because like those people would be very, very hurt. Like I remember having like a talking to, like by, for example, like if you were to swing a paint can and it hit somebody in the face, like they could die, like, kind of thing. So I don't think so. I think I got like enough of a, like, not lecture, but like sort of like forewarning of like, this is pretend, like it's funny, but it's pretend.
My for that
Nice.
reason, my grandma got in trouble for showing me that movie one Christmas.
Oh yeah, they were
Oh,
worried. They were worried about poor little May Finch like setting up booby traps. Nice.
Clearly, I'm slave to whatever media I consume, and if I watch Home Alone, I will become a house trap gremlin. That's how that works.
no pet spiders. You don't get a
Nope.
pet spider. You don't get any Legos, micro machines, none of that.
He's got some elaborate stuff, man. He's got like torches on the door handles and all kinds of wild stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I did come up with one that is not Rankin Bass, and it's Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Aw.
And I really loved this. I think I watched it outside the Christmas like season as well, to the extent that I was shocked when I found out that A Christmas Carol wasn't just like a Disney thing.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a very old story written by Charles Dickens and recreated throughout media ever since. So that was funny. I thought it was just like a Donald Duck thing, and I tried to convince a good number of people of that as a child until I finally.
They were like, sorry. I'm trying to think. So all right, Mickey is Bob Cratchit, is that right? And then like Scrooge is Scrooge, I hope, because otherwise that'd be crazy if like somebody else was. But
Yeah,
I
it's
just
Scrooge, and then yeah, Bob Cratchit, Mickey,
Goofy's Marley, right? Which, like, man, I haven't seen this in like since I
yes,
was sub 10 years old, definitely.
Daisy
Okay.
is Belle.
You mean that's not where Scrooge McDuck came from?
That was
Chris?
going to be my next question. Is like, I
Is
wonder
that like
if
not
like
his origin
this
story? I'm just
was
think
like,
kidding. I mean, it would have been awesome
that
if
the
it was, but I doubt
was that
that.
the first thing he was in? Like, yeah, it could be.
I don't know. I'm not gonna try to convince you guys and then be wrong again on something else with this.
No, you should. You should just troll us with it. Be like, actually, yes,
Yeah.
that is where DuckTales originated. And I would believe you, and I would be perfectly okay with that explanation. I would not fact
Yeah.
check you on that.
DuckTales was
could
a Charles Dickens like spinoff of
Amazing.
yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I also, Jiminy Cricket was always like a beloved character for me, and I was so happy he was in this. And I actually liked him in this better than in Pinocchio.
Solid.
Yeah, that's fair. Like he's kind of like a little bit annoying in Pinocchio because he's supposed to be the conscious, right? It's like you just have to have some fun, buddy. Quit being a buzzkill. God. What does he do in this?
He's
What
the
is he?
ghost of Christmas Past.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so still giving moral lectures, but like to this old rich asshole. So
It's fine.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that being pretty close to like the story, right? They don't change too much. Like for
It's
kids.
very faithful from what I remember.
Yeah.
Tiny Tim's in it.
Yeah. And I know there's like even like I feel like there's a scary-ish image of like the ghost of the Christmas future, and like definitely a grave, because I remember finding that part scary as a kid.
That, I mean, unless they did that for what is it, the Muppet Christmas Carol? That's what I always think about, is this is spooky part from that film. But they probably
Yeah.
just redid it again because I mean it is Disney, so it's like, you know what we could do.
Well,
Exactly.
that's it's a great pick. Also one that I remember very fondly of from my childhood.
Yeah, it
Nice.
came out in 83, I think.
Oh wow. Yeah. So maybe it is like pre DuckTales and stuff. Like maybe they just like recycled the character and you know did that. Oh, awesome. Thanks for both of you sharing your early Christmas film memories. But now the time has come to talk about a recent Christmas film. And this week's choice was selected by May Finch. It was supposed to be talked about a year ago, and then I got COVID for the second year in a row on Christmas. So we had to bail on recording that episode. So I'm very excited to finally, after much ado, talk about A Christmas Prince.
Honestly, that sounds like an event that could have happened in the Christmas Prince too. Just COVID constantly thwarting Christmas.
For sure.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about A Christmas Prince. I've seen this film a bunch of times. Last year, I watched the second and third films as like, homework. I didn't do that again this year, but I'm curious if you two saw the other ones as well, or if you just stuck to the first one.
Just the first for me for now, although like depending on how you guys discuss or talk about the other ones, like maybe I would go like on if it's worth forging ahead. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you, El?
Yeah, I've only seen the first one,
Okay.
and I have read about the sequels. And there's an airplane that's about to fly over, so I apologize if that gets picked up. But the sequel films, and then like the expanded universe that is Netflix's like Christmas, I don't know, world Christmas like universe with like the Christmas Switch and like some other random titles that I was like,
Yeah.
this is more of a rabbit hole than I thought I would ever fall down for a movie like this. But it looks entertaining. So I think they, and we'll talk more about it, I'm sure, but it's like they found the formula that seemed to work well enough that I Netflix decided they needed to green light some sequels, man. And so yeah. But no, I haven't watched the other ones yet.
Okay. Cool. I'm just wondering what to include in my recap. But yeah, so A Christmas Prince is a Netflix movie that came out in 2017 about a reporter who gets sent off to the magical, mystical Christmas country of Eldovia to report on a coronation. Obviously, the coronation doesn't go to plan. The prince doesn't show up, and she decides to do some investigating by sneaking into the castle because that's just what a good journalist does, right?
You tell us, May Finch. I believe of all the people on this podcast, you're the one who studied it. So
And is mistaken as the tutor of the princess and just rolls with it and ends up living in the castle with the family under this fake name, pretending to be this tutor. And she finds out all this kind of family drama and gets closer and closer to the prince and the princess. And like there's lots of the traditional stereotypical Hallmark romantic things like the horseback riding and the tumbling in snow and the almost kiss and all of those wonderful things. And
Mhm.
then she uncovers a big bombshell of a secret, which is that the prince was actually adopted, and she doesn't know like what to do with that info necessarily, so she hides it in her room. And then the villains of our story, which are the next to the throne, basically, if the prince does abdicate. I think his name was what, like Cousin Sam or something.
I kept calling him cousin Greg. That's like, yeah, he is
Simon, not Sam. Okay.
Simon,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, Cousin Simon, as well as Lady Sophia, who is supposed to be kind of a temptress character, and also the Princess X. They go in and break into our journalist Amber's room, discover that she's been living under a false name, and discover that the prince is adopted. There's a very dramatic reveal at the coronation party. Hearts are broken and everything seems lost. Simon's about to get crowned when Amber solves a like poem riddle and finds an old law that is legally binding, apparently, even though no one knew about it, signed by the old king in an acorn ornament that allows Richard to be prince, even though he's adopted. So then he actually gets properly coronated. Simon and Sophia have been thwarted, and Amber like respectfully goes home because she's like, I fucked this up enough, I'm leaving. But the prince does follow her there back to America and proposes to her, and that is the end of the film.
Solid.
What were your first impressions? I'm gonna make Will go first.
Sweet. I think it's like a surprisingly charming film. Like,
Yeah.
I love Rose McIver. I've loved her since
yeah.
iZombie. I think that like she takes it and she runs with it, man. Like she is the one of very few actors on a list that I would think that if you wanted to do something like Hallmark or that sort of style, she'll take it and she'll go with it. Like she embodies exactly whatever it is. Like there could be crappy dialogue and she's like, I'm gonna do it. So I don't know, like, and all the jokes aside, like it's, if you like Hallmark or you like kind of fluffier, happier stories like that, then yeah, 100% watch it, man, because it's entertaining. It's funny just to watch, even if you're not a Hallmark fan, and either joke about or just have kind of a good time with, because it's got some endearing moments to it. It's not just all kind of like, middle of the road. But I honestly enjoyed the Princess Emily. I liked her character the most because I felt like, I don't know, like the adults had all the really crappy lines and she had like some of the better lines of dialogue in this film that I could buy into more.
She gets some
But
snappy comebacks, which are great.
right? So I was like, okay, so that's a redeemable factor. And sort of like the little weird twist at the end, I was like, I had more fun sort of trying to understand like the laws of this country than I did like some of the plot points. Like especially like you were talking about, May. Like, okay, so just retroactively change the law with this like piece of paper that explains everything away that for some reason there was no copy of except for in this acorn that was like this really overcomplicated like whatever, but it was like a fun little mystery at the end that sort of made everything work out okay. Then I thought, okay, not too bad. But yeah, no, overall, I still think it's very charming. I think if it's definitely worth a shot one way or the other, whether you continue or not with the trilogy or saga, I guess at this point. So
Thank you, Will. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think this movie is super inoffensive, like, and trope filled, and like it's exactly as advertised. Like I feel like if you put this on, you know exactly what you're getting, and hopefully that's what you want. It's really on you at that point if you put this on and you're like expecting something other than what it is.
Oh
I think it
yeah,
does.
this film called A Christmas Prince is going to be a very dark, gritty, realistic take on Regency and Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I would say it's probably better than your typical Hallmark fare. That's what surprised me, because like when you sold it, you're like, oh, it has like the quarter of a budget of Hallmark. I think sometimes that's true. Like the snow CGI at the beginning was
yeah,
so awful.
yeah.
And like bits of it, I'm like, wow, this is a very stunning location they shot this in. And then to convey that this guy has an archery range, like it's just like an easel you would buy at Target with like a little circle like on it. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is going, like, and he's just doing it on a walkway, like not in like a proper field, like with like real, anyway. So like sometimes the budget show, but overall I actually thought like it was pretty decent, like in terms of like the filming locations and everything else. But yeah, like I like that. It's very inoffensive and um charming. I agree that Princess Emily is the by far. It's Emily, right? I'm getting that right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, for an actress that's probably 9 or 10, really good at looking like sad, like she's gonna cry over like the recent loss of her. Like anytime she was sad, I was buying it. So I was quite impressed with that. And as predictable and trope filled as it was, I thought it was very successful and just a charming little thing. I mean, I certainly didn't at any point have a bad time or was bored. I rolled my eyes plenty, but like in a good way, where it's just like you could connect those dots. I did not quite call the Deus Ex Machina, as we'll call it.
Nice.
But like I figured there was like gonna be some sort of like loophole or something that was gonna, because this country is wild. I'm like, why is everyone so obsessed with being the king or queen of this place? Looks really small. It's basically like, I don't know, like Breckenridge, Colorado, and like there's like all this power happening. Like it's like the fucking Iron Throne in Game of Thrones. But I appreciated that. It was a nice little bit. You have to have some sort of antagonist, so why not? Like, why not make it a struggle for the throne as part of it? But yeah,
And Theo Devaney ate in that role, I have to say.
what's that? I'm sorry.
He
What would
ate
you
in
say?
that role as Simon.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yes, it was very, very charming. Like, I mean, it's exactly what you would want from Netflix's take at like a Hallmark movie, which I said better than average. Honestly, I got some glimpses when I was up in Charleston, and let me tell you, this is not as bad as some of the stuff that I saw there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I definitely agree that like Rose McIver's acting carries it in a lot of ways. It's just like, I don't know, an intensity, but also kind of like authenticity. Like you see her really convincing you she believes her lines, and it does make it better. um I also loved Princess Emily and her presence, and Simon. I think they were my two favorite characters. I just love the needling antagonism of Simon, and like how Princess Emily like kind of makes Amber win her over. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, I watched this a bunch of times, and it's just kind of like my default background movie now when I'm like putting up Christmassy stuff. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I think it's kind of like you get what you think you're going to get out of it. I agree that despite the budget that shows in certain areas, it does to me stand above Hallmark movies just because like I don't know, there's like some surprising elements and a lot of heart. Like I didn't see the fact that he was adopted coming from anywhere, and like um the fact that like there is like a subplot about Princess Emily's disability, but the way it was handled was like surprisingly good for a movie of this type. Um yeah, it just kind of like surprised me in certain ways with like its heart and attention to like emotional detail where maybe there couldn't be a lot of attention to actual physical detail.
Sure.
Yeah.
It
So
did all right. Again, I would stay in that like even the hunting cabin. I was like, all right, like this looks fine. They're like, can I
yeah.
move my quarters into here for the remainder of my tutoring, please? Like, it's quite charming. Oh, this is a
Yeah.
cattail. Sorry.
As long as it's a cat that it's attached to.
Yeah,
Oops.
Luna has decided she's going to crash the podcast, apparently. So pardon any
Aw.
purrs that come through the mic.
She has opinions on A Christmas Prince.
Apparently, she was sleeping on my chest while watching most of it. So,
Aw.
what do you think?
She has
What do you
things
think,
to
Luna?
say.
Good film? Hmm? Good film, Loons? I was hoping
Wow.
I'd get up. Yeah, no.
I'm getting little tail twitches though, which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to talk through the film just kind of like act by act because I think that's the best way to break this down. Um, so what do you guys think of sort of like the setup? Like she gets put on this kind of random assignment that's not the kind of assignment she usually gets. Goes to Aldovia, has that whole interaction with the prince when the prince is trying to quickly get a taxi cab and insults him. And you know, up until the point where she actually meets the prince again, and all the hijinks that ensue. What'd you guys think of that? I'll let Chris go first this time.
If I had put this on blind, right, like in the middle of July, just flip through channels, saw post credits, right, so no title or anything, I would be able to predict exactly like what kind of film this is going to be, like right off the bat. You get the little headlines where it's like, oh, he's got the scandals. Oh, you need to go cover this. And it's like, yeah, they're falling in love at some point. It's a rom-com, right? So plays it, very much like to expectation. You've got sort of the two best friends, the kind of jerk boss who pulls no punches with, oh, the reason we're sending you on this assignment is because our best reporters aren't available, like, right. Like yeah, like it's definitely to expectation, but for what this is, it's not a bad thing at all, really. Like they make sure to drop in some exposition. It's been a year since that breakup. You keep like having these like dates with these ultra cute guys and none of them are good enough for you, right? Like but yeah, I mean it does its job in setting you up for what is clearly going to be a romantic comedy, sort of like a holiday romantic comedy film. I will point out that Airport is like not like I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but this is definitely not an airport. Like we were laughing at like the exterior of that building. I mean, this is a real building, but it might be like a shopping mall or like something like, but there's just that big sign that says like airport arrivals or something like that, which was also kind of got me chuckling.
Yeah, the single arrivals part of the airport, the one airport.
Which is funny because later when she's like flying out, I'm pretty sure there is like some actual stock footage of like an airport because there's like real planes and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was I don't know if it was intentional, but it was kind of a fun little nod to planes, trains, and automobiles a little bit when the cab gets stolen. Which there's worse ways for what would we call that, a meet cute? It's more like a I don't know, a thief cute, I guess. Like he just takes the cab and dips. But yeah, I think it's successful at what it does, like for sure. Again, like I'm already connecting the dots and like it's starting to make that checklist in my mind when I'm watching it, going like, okay, like here we go, we've got like the pieces are in place, right? Like we're set up for. So I was kind of curious to see what was going to happen next, because there's always like different family dynamics and there's a reason why like she falls in love. So that's why it had me interested to see like what the execution was going to be from there. I found it very boilerplate up to that point, so I'll stop there.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's very fair. I was rolling my eyes, I think, the most probably in this initial section, just because it's like I feel like the most cliched part of the whole thing. And then also when she goes in to the palace, because you're right, like I've done journalism before and I was just like, my God, this is not, there's so many ethical premises and rules that you're breaking, not to mention the law. Like
yeah, go to the dungeon.
That's right.
Go to the dungeon.
You can't publish anything that you find this way. Like that's anyway, that I guess it was good because it just kind of made me just suspend my disbelief for the rest of it from then on, because otherwise I would have been too angry and turned it off. How'd you feel about the opening, Will?
Thought it was kind of cheesy. I kind of on the same thing where you're rolling your eyes at stuff that's going on, but you're like, okay, so this is the tone that we're going to expect for the rest of the movie. And then I was pleasantly surprised when that wasn't like always the case. But yeah, like the the airport, man, like everything's in English. People talk with British accents when they go to this country. I'm not entirely sure what government, like how the government works here. I'm trying to like piece together context clues like I'm watching a Star Wars movie and trying to understand that. And it's the same way where I'm just more confused at the end of the film as to how that all like works. But like the I'd say the weakest part is probably her job, her office space, her coworkers, her boss. And then after that, it just gets better. And from I love her reaction though when and I'm oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name when Ben, or excuse me, not Ben, Ben's the actor, Prince Richard rather,
Mhm.
ends up taking her taxi, that her response is just like, you jerk, can you believe this guy? Turn it around and everybody's just like, yeah, yeah. It's so cartoonish and wonderful that I was just like, okay, you know what, we'll keep going.
You don't have a
And
crowd just watching your every action that responds and nods their heads.
oh yeah, that'd be great. Like I would feel so like that's like positive reinforcement, man.
Yeah, it'd be
Like,
very
yeah, we agree
validating.
with you. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, I liked that part. And then from there on, sort of the same way too, where it's like, there's no way you would be able to just sneak back inside. Somebody there, where is the security? If this place is as important as you claim, like what is it, like two guards with pikes standing at like the staircase, and that's it? And no background check, no confirming that we have the internet, right? Like, this is not the image of the lady, the tutor that you were expecting. Like, come on. But again, because it's charming and heartfelt and cartoony, I'm like, okay, I'll
It's a
roll with
simple
it.
country, Will. You know what I mean? Like, if you couldn't tell from the
I
fact that
mean,
everything's perfect and mountainous. Like,
but yeah. So I do really wonder though. So like my question though is like, why are they British? How does this country, what is this country's history? And why, who really has authority? But again, that jumps ahead of the story. So maybe we can reconnect on that later. But yeah, no, I liked
We
it
will.
from the
We
airport
will.
on.
Also, like you find out a lot more about the government and like infrastructure in the second and third movies, and it makes even less sense as you learn more.
No. I was about to say, are you gonna plug it? Like you're like, you really need for a history of this
sometimes keeping it
country.
simple is best.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to like mention like something in an offhand line in a film to be like, oh, that's intriguing. And then George Lucas is like, let me take 3 movies to explain that. And it's like, never mind.
Yeah.
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 Oops.
So, Amber does, against all odds, get this semi-permanent position in the palace under a fake name, and is never asked for ID either. Like,
Nope. Nothing.
yeah,
Not even a passport. Nothing. Just like,
this
oh,
is a
you
very
must be
corrupt
the.
country. They don't even think about taxes. So why would they need an ID, right? The royalty. Yeah, I know. Anyway. So yeah, I would consider Act Two to be just kind of like the flirtatious period, I guess, between like Amber and Richard up until the discovery of like the adoptions and that coronation night ball. I think this is like again a very stereotypical part of the movie, but like done fairly well. Like I do think that Ben Lamb and Rose McIver have decent on-screen chemistry. Again, carried by Rose McIver. But they're a good-looking couple together, and I think that the way they chose to do the various scenes was cute. The most eye-rolly part for me was the wolf attack
Hmm.
thing.
It's basically
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast. Come on. Like,
Nice. Yeah.
at least he does take her back to like the nice cabin. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but
Yeah. So my question for this part is just like, what to you was like the cutest part of that part of it? And what was the most eye rolly part?
mm,
Are we up to the toboggan? Did that happen at that
Yeah.
point?
yeah.
Because that would be the cutest part for me, I think.
Hmm.
I agree. I was gonna say anything involving Princess Emily is the cutest part.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly. But if we're gonna stick to the romantic,
No, it could be anything.
okay.
I think
Well,
toboggan's a
you can
great
go
fit.
ahead and elaborate on the toboggan. I'll find something. There's
Um,
plenty
because
of
I thought
cutesy
it was
stuff.
fun watching Emily joke around, and there's like that moment where you're like, "Oh no, is she actually going to get hurt in this movie?" And you're like, "No, what film do you think you're watching? You fool, we got you." And then I thought it was really sweet when the Queen later was like, "Next time you go, I might, want to tag along too. So you should let me know about that. And I thought, aw, you guys, so sweet. So yeah, that would be my pick.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's also kind of like, I don't know, peak of Emily's plot line, really, in terms of being treated more normally and getting some independence and like autonomy from her somewhat reasonably helicopterish mother.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Alice, and I'm probably going to mispronounce her last name, but Alice Krieg, I think, is who plays the queen. Conveniently, also the lady who played the Borg Queen from Star
The
Trek
Borg
First
I was
Queen,
Contact.
thinking
So I
about
have
that.
to throw that out there for my random Star Trek, little insert. But yes.
That's
Anyway,
exactly when I saw her name pop up. I was like, oh, it's the lady that played the Borg Queen. Marianne was like,
Yep.
what? And I'm like, well, in First Contact, but yeah.
Mhm.
For me, it's a little detail, but I like the shoes. I don't know, are they Converses? Maybe they're not
Yeah.
like mentioned by name, but like her lifting up the dress, because it kind of demonstrates that she's assimilating a little bit, but also like still very much herself, keeping her identity, and it's played for like laughs and sort of like a wink, and it's subtly a little fuck you to the I don't know, the Lannister wannabes, Simon and whatever the other woman's name is, like, so I think that was like one of the moments I genuinely found to be like a nice thing that was like a more subtle, because a lot of this movie is like by design like very heavy handed, so I thought that was like wasn't as like cheesy, and was just more like genuinely sweet.
Yeah.
Did you say the eye rolly thing, Will, already? Did you pick one of those? We're gonna do that next.
No, I was gonna remind him. So what was the most kind of eye roll / cringe worthy part of this
When she
act?
lost the tracks of King Richard's horse and she couldn't figure out where she was going to go, and then nightfall came in, and she still couldn't find her way back, just walking the way that she'd come, and then the wolf pops out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh man, this has turned into like whatever that Liam Neeson movie was where he's fighting for survival for like 2 seconds, and then but yeah, that was probably it for me, where I'm just like, you common sense just completely disappeared for the sake of the plot. And I get it. I get why, but I thought there's probably got to be a better way you could have segued into that. So yeah, that was also the moment where my wife was just like, "What the fuck?" So we watched it together, and that was it. For the most part, we were on the same page about all that. And then that was the moment too, where would have been her throw your popcorn moment. So yeah.
There's a deleted scene where he like those are actually his like hounds, and he sicks them on her so he can go get some in the on the cabin, you know what I mean? He's like, listen fellas, I need a little help here. Like, I need to abscond with this tutor, so go. No, that is not actually a deleted scene, in case it's not clear that I'm kidding.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I have an issue with that scene as well. Partly because like I grew up in the era of Twilight, and I was like, oh no, is that where this is going? Is he like a prince werewolf? Like,
oh sweet.
So
it would have been even better. Yeah. That's my secret.
I had that fear for a good moment before.
Why? A fear? I would have been excited. My heart would have been pounding if I had like considered that. I'd have been like, oh yes, here we go.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, it literally would be Beauty and the Beast at that point.
Yeah, it would. All right, Chris, your turn.
It's actually the scene behind Will. I hate the almost kiss in rom-coms.
Oh yeah.
And I groaned and I was like, all right, it's about time for the almost kiss. And then that shit happened, and I was like, oh my god. I just not that it's hard to call, but yeah, just not a fan of it. I think it's like, even for a movie that's trope filled like this, I'm like, you're better than this, Christmas Prince. Or at least in the way that it is done, it's just like every other almost kiss ever. But yeah, not
so
a fan.
Are you talking about in the snow, or when the horse neighs when they're in the cabin? Which are we doing both?
The snow.
Or are we doing one?
Snow.
Okay.
The snow for sure.
Okay.
The horse neighing in the cabin, at that point I was already kind of, I moved on to the acceptance stage of grief, but
Nice.
yeah.
Oh no, have I like traumatized you both?
No,
No,
no, no,
no, we're
no,
good.
no. I'm using hyperbole just to illustrate a point. But no, yeah, like it's just I felt like at that point they had shaken up the formula enough that like I was like sort of surprisingly interested in what was gonna happen, right? Like I didn't expect myself to get it, as invested in like some aspects of the story, and then I was like, oh, we gotta do
There it
this.
is.
Okay. All right,
Pulling
fine.
you back out again. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, like just a little bit, but it was more of like a grown eye roll. Like there wasn't anything terrible. I didn't have any throw your popcorn, or even like when the wolf thing like happened. I kind of just laughed and I was like, oh yeah, Beauty and the Beast, baby, like steal from the best. Not that the Beast, I guess, like rides in shooting a gun. That would be kind of epic, but I think he just kind of roars and like fights the wolves. But I don't see this guy doing that necessarily. But it's fair play to him for shooting a gun into the air and not at the wolves. Like very, very like obviously like want to keep it family friendly, right? So it's just gonna scare them off, not actually shoot them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say both of the almost kisses annoyed me as well. I think I give the cabin one a pass just because it's kind of comedic at that point.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
really after all of that. But yeah, we're moving through to what I see as the third and final act, which is just all of the weird political craziness from the stage at the coronation party through to Amber doing her Christmas riddle with the ornaments, and then the new interrupted coronation of Simon. I'm just gonna ask how y'all felt about it. We talked about how confusing it is politically, but I guess like from a storytelling point of view, did it work or did it not work?
Because this is a cartoon, yes. But if it was real life, no.
I was gonna say, if you've made it this far into the movie and you're like wanting to put your foot down, I think that says more about you at that point. Like I was just like,
You knew what you signed
sure.
up for.
Yeah. I don't know I don't understand the urgency of why this has to be done today, given like all the new information. I certainly don't understand like how like, because it seems like there's sort of like a legislative body, how the king could just be like, and the laws changed in secret and everyone has to abide. But I was like, you know what, like awesome, like fine. It's we had like a little what's the detective's name from Knives Out?
Oh, oh my
Oh my
gosh.
god, why am I blanking? Also, we
Me
had like that.
too.
I am
It's French.
as
It's French
well.
sounding. It's Southern French. Like I feel like there's an O in there somewhere. Like Lambo,
Blanc?
Clouseau. No.
Yes,
LeBlanc. There we
Blanc.
go. Yeah.
LeBlanc? Yeah.
Benoit Blanc. Benoit Blanc. There we go.
Benoit
We got there.
Blanc, yeah.
Got there together. There's very much
Nice.
a Benoit Blanc like kind of moment, where like she puts it all together and comes in there. Not as entertaining as Daniel Craig, but that's okay. That's a high bar to clear. But yeah,
Sure.
it worked for me. I mean, like I think it's what I appreciated was that like it didn't all wrap up like right there in the chamber. And like even though you knew it was gonna be a happy ending, I'm glad that they're like allowing these two things to kind of like be separate and breathe a little bit, because it would have been very, very silly. I think I would have thrown my popcorn if they'd been like, well, we still have a priest in the building to marry somebody, like because we just had a wedding earlier today. Like I'd have been like, nope. So I think it's fine. Sweet. What about you, Will?
I have questions.
Hit me, Will.
So if you have a certificate of adoption, does it have to look like your high school graduation certificate? That was my first question. Secondly,
Simple country, Will. It's simple country.
I'm just they took a
They went
Photoshop
to
template.
they
and
went
they're
to
like,
Word,
this is what we need,
Microsoft
you know?
Word. They were like, it looks like you're trying to print out a certificate of adoption, and Flippy came in and helped them make it.
Amazing. Shout out to whoever did that. I'm sure it's the same person that was supposed to do all the notes that that Amber's character is taking on her laptop that you get to like a brief glimpse of. My next question is, why does the quorum just not object to coming in on Christmas Day to do this vote when they haven't really verified anything? And clearly they don't like the guy. They all liked Richard. They're like, yeah, let him take it, kind of a thing. Like, just let. I just thought that was funny how they were like so miffed about it too, and yet they still went along with it. And then also, like, there's a prime minister, right? So, like, what role does the monarchy in this country really have? Is this like England, where it's just like, for, just like honorary, like, like the image more than like actual legislation? Or is that like, that's where I was like, okay, so
Clearly
we
not. The
took
king's
this
changing
idea.
the law. He's like,
I know, yeah. And then like we were supposedly they were able to have an adoption in secret, and then they didn't think that maybe they should like hammer out some details later in advance with like in triplicate about how to go about dealing with the succession. Like, I don't know. So I just thought that was all very funny and kind of awkward, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll roll with it. So, and then the only other thing was when they try to do the coronation, it sounds very much like they're doing wedding vows. Like, do you swear to, take care of this country in wealth and poverty? And I'm like, are you marrying the country? Then yes, I
in
guess
a way.
so. I didn't realize this was my. I mean, yeah, I guess that's how you roll. Cool. And so, yeah, but yeah, that's I loved making fun of all of those things, but also finding that it still had its sort of cartoonish logic that I could follow. So I did not mind it. And that is all I have.
Wonderful. Yeah, great questions. I'm really glad you brought up the certificate because I remember being weirded out by that too, and it taking me a good while to figure out what it even was, and then realizing, wait, this isn't a dog, like a dog no, a human adoption certificate.
She finds out it's the
Aw.
wolf. It was the wolf. She's like, oh
We got it
no.
mixed. Oh no, we called the
He
wolf
did he
Richard.
did
You're
stick the
named
wolves on
after
me.
the dog.
Uh,
Also, like if you're legally adopting a kid, how does that not apply to succession? Like the
Yeah, right?
oh, the
That
queen's
doesn't
the worst
count?
person in this whole film if you stop and think about it. Like she knows he's not like legitimate, and she's just gonna
yeah,
let him like go like on anyway.
yeah.
She doesn't know about the little acorn of knowledge like that's sitting on the tree, like that's got like the thing that's gonna make it all legal. She's just gonna let him illegally take the throne.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
It's
acorn
all
of
very
knowledge.
contrived. I do have a soft spot for any kind of mystery Benoit Blanc moment. Um so I do love that part of it, even though it doesn't fit here at all and it makes no sense. I also appreciate that, like, again, contrasting like Hallmark movies and the stereotypical movies of this genre, like Amber is the go-getter in this whole movie. She's the one that is like solving the mystery and saving the prince, except for that one wolf moment, really. And I was like, oh yay, she's saving her not damsel, but prince in distress. And I thought that was a cool reversal.
Mhm.
But like on the flip side, I also was like, there's a surprising degree of emotional maturity in this movie and this character for her just to leave after this and be like, I've messed up enough things for this man and his family. Um, yeah, I respected that. And then of course, because we need a happy ending, he had to come and propose, which was whatever. But yeah, the ending's a wild ride, and I agree. It would be a throw my popcorn moment if I hadn't experienced the entire movie. That was a throw your popcorn moment
Yeah.
up until then. Um, so yeah, I will ask my final question, which is just, does this work for you as a like Christmas love story? Like, does that aspect of it work for you or not? And either way, why?
Yes. Because I believe
Right.
Rose McIver. She would make me if she acted. I mean, any part of this film, I believe it because of the way she acts. So yes. I think it's sweet and charming, and yeah. Final answer, locked in.
Amazing. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, what more do you want? Like, I mean, really, like I feel like again, you know what you're getting into or should.
Yeah.
So I think it plays it very safe, but that's not a bad thing. I think where you can land into trouble with like genre films is sometimes trying to reinvent too much and then like realizing that you've kind of lost what makes them work. And I think this movie stays true to exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it obviously works for me because it's my favorite Christmas movie.
Ever? Is it your favorite ever?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, no judgment. I just
That was
surprised.
kind
I
of
didn't know
that
that.
was sort of a, yeah, I don't know. That was a surprised reaction there, Chris.
I just didn't know. No. I just was
You
learning
said
for the
that.
first
You said
time.
no judgment in the most judgy voice possible.
You're like, are you
Well, no,
trolling
because
me
I
right now?
realized
Are
like
you
I
serious
just
that
didn't know that this was your favorite. That's all.
Oh my
I'm not
god.
judging.
Yeah.
Like, no. I like no.
I mean, this is coming from someone that hates Christmas also, so like that's part of it.
Oh.
I think it's because it is like Rose plays it in a way that's very convincing, but also kind of self-aware. And so it's like, yeah, I can handle all of this cheesy, campy stuff because of Rose McIver, and it makes like all the Christmas stuff palatable for me.
Fair enough.
This took a
You're gonna
very
find that
interesting,
Grinch
like
graphic
emotionally
and put it-
cathartic route. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate the Grinch movie because I didn't get any credits for it.
For your heart, just
Yeah.
2 sizes too small.
Actual picture of my heart in there. They never gave me credit.
Those bastards.
But yeah, I am so glad you guys watched this. A quick note on the sequels.
Sweet.
So the second movie is about their wedding, and the third movie is about the royal baby. And the second movie, there's like both have like a very weird political subplot. Like that becomes the main style of subplot, is just like the politics of this country. In the second movie, it's about like an initiative happening in the country, kind of like any of these big, like, an American president comes in and they'll have some program that's supposed to like make jobs and make the country thrive again, and like whatever their thing is. They have that as royals, and it's going terribly, and like the whole country hates them. And it's apparently because like their contractors were being fraudulent or something. And it's like, who was supposed to look into this? And like that was the whole plot, was just that, oh, we had no one checking on this, we should do that.
Wow.
Well, we've asserted that their security and overall like just the way things are run are maybe not the best. So yeah.
And then it's
Didn't
even
vet your contractors.
crazier in the third movie, because while this baby is happening, there is a weird like haunted dungeon thing of the
Sweet.
castle. Yeah, it's
Wait,
kind of sweet.
there
It's
is a
super
dungeon.
weird. Yeah, there's a dungeon.
Is that like a little jokey like
yeah
twist? Like, oh, actually there
Whoa.
is.
There is actually a dungeon, spoiler. And it's haunted. And they're negotiating a peace treaty. And again, it's kind of this weird backwards, like, oh, our hands are tied because of this very historic bureaucratic thing that doesn't actually make sense. And basically, they have to sign a peace treaty with some like time limit that of course runs out on Christmas. And if they don't sign
always on Christmas.
if they don't sign the peace treaty
doing this
in time, then their countries are at war. Like that's the default state.
What?
Jesus.
Jeez, man.
So yeah, the politics, you find out more and it makes less sense.
Like, what can we do? Like, if this thing we gotta just murder each other, I guess. Like, we don't want to, but wow.
Yeah. So it's an interesting trip. I do think that it's appropriate that the Rotten Tomatoes score goes down a good 20 to 30 points for each sequel.
Subsequently, like
Yeah.
does it continue to go down? Is it like
Yeah.
stair step down? Oh boy. See, I was
I
kind of hoping you're
agree
gonna
with the
tell me
ratings.
like it gets more Game of Thrones, less Christmas romance, then I was gonna be like real into it. Like,
I wish, but no. It's an interesting little world. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys watched The Christmas Prince. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
I found a map of where these countries are supposed to be located.
Oh,
oh
please
yeah,
share.
is it
It's in
canon?
that collider.com article that I shared about the expanded universe, and there is definitely a map of Aldovia, Belgravia, and Pinglia, which I think all show up in like various iterations of these movies. Apparently Aldovia is very close to Italy, like across the water. Anyway, not sure how that all got worked out, but that's fascinating.
It
Now,
really
since there's
is.
an expanded universe, do they have like post credit scenes where Kurt Russell as Santa Claus is like, I'm putting together a team. Like,
To save Christmas.
yeah.
All
I am
right, Chris.
actually intrigued by the Christmas Switch, which apparently takes place adjacent to this in that same universe.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. It has like Vanessa Hudgens playing multiple versions of herself.
sweet. So like a more charming Orphan Black kind of thing going on there.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
But rom-com. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like that could quickly get weirdly dark though, because it's like the implications of completely identity swapping um are horrific and probably not addressed well in a Christmas flick.
Which is why in our D&D campaign, I did not agree to the terms of doing that. Anyway, yeah, I agree. That's kind of wild, but I mean, you made it that far into this universe. Like, why not see where it goes? I guess.
Fair enough.
Now, the Christmas Switch is in fact the identity swapping, not like a Nintendo Switch, because that would just be funny if it was just like the
It's Kirby
titular
themed.
Yeah, I think it's the princess switch, and the princess switches places with like a baker that happens to have the same face.
Gotcha. Kind of like trading places a little bit, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in a romantic setting,
So kind of like Parent Trap.
mm,
Ish, maybe. That might be
I
a
feel like
stretch.
I feel like Netflix would totally make a dating show based off of this premise if they could.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my. Watch out, too hot to handle. We've got the latest the latest hookup show.
Oh no.
And on that note, no.
Yeah. So thank you both. I have a little game if you guys are ready.
Do it.
Yes.
All right. So theater of the mind style. I love how there's this weird heist aspect to the first part of this movie with her getting into the castle. And I have a little thought experiment for both of you. If you were not faced with a guard and given the opportunity to pretend that you're actually this young girl's tutor, how would you have gotten access to the prince once in the castle? What would have been your strategy for getting the much needed scoop that you need for your article?
Quote
Get
and
him
ask a
drunk.
question from
Sorry,
one of
go
your other
ahead,
favorite
Chris.
films. What are our assets?
Ah, nice.
You do have a Holocaust cloak. No. uh Basically just the things that she does.
Okay.
So
Some
clothes on your
press
body, a
credentials.
press
Yeah.
badge,
Laptop.
laptop. Yeah.
Mm, was she specifically the math tutor, or did she just say she was? Like, was that like something they like, oh, you're the math tutor? Like, did they
Mhm.
choose the subject for her? Okay. I was gonna say I would not pick something that I'm terrible at. So, but if I have to go that route, yeah, I think it's probably bullshitting the like I think less is more.
Mhm.
So I agree with her strategy of like not saying too much because you don't know how much they know about this person. So I think I would ask a lot of questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like now what aspects of mathematics is the young princess struggling with? Are we talking trigonometry, geometry, like
Sorry, I
like
meant like if you were trying to get into the castle to talk to the prince and you weren't offered the opportunity to pretend to be the tutor.
okay, so I can go
Ah,
outside of that
Yes.
then.
Yes.
Oh shit.
nice.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible. Okay.
Yeah. Um Same kind of strategy. I would pretend to I would pretend to maybe be a like historian who was like interested in the history of the royal family and the castle, and hope that I can find somebody that is plausible to have hired me that's maybe not in the castle at the time, away for the holidays or something. And
Yeah.
again, you could just then you can get all the information you need. You can ask lots of questions without seeming nosy. Like I feel like the key would be finding out who's not there, that you could be like, yeah, because they don't seem like they check up on shit there. So like, you know, Reginald, the palace groundskeeper, he's gone. Cool. Reginald's the one that hired me. Like that's who I'm
Nice.
here on behalf of.
So you would go for deception.
Deception for sure. And again, something that like would give me reason to ask a lot of really like kind of personal sounding questions without being suspicious.
Nice. I'm gonna say you have a +2 modifier on that,
Mhm.
and I am so sorry. That is a 7. You would have
Wait, you
been
don't roll the
caught.
dice for me. I get to roll my own dice now. Come on
You
now.
want to roll a dice?
Yeah,
Fine.
I've got Marianne's playing Dave the Diver, so I'll have to pull it up on D&D Beyond. But yeah, I will roll a dice. And I'll
Okay.
do it in a campaign so you can see that I'm not cheating here.
I believe you. I didn't tell you the DC, so you don't have a good way to cheat.
No, yeah. So me turn off dark mode real quick. Go to my characters
It's like, is it
and
serious? This is gonna happen. All right, look.
see Conrad Vexen. He's my character that probably would be most successful. I know you're just I'm rolling a D20 and
Yeah.
just you said I have +2 modifier to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll say you're decently good at bullshitting as a writer.
D20 and roll. No need to tell me what I
Did
I
you roll a
roll
1?
a 6. No, I rolled a
Okay.
6.
Well, you make an admirable attempt, and funny enough, it's not your lack of credentials or the fact that they don't recognize your name or your face or really know why you're there that gets you kicked out. It's really just the fact that the guard was having a bad day and he needed to kick someone out, and you happened to be in front of him.
Fair.
A reasonable attempt.
Yeah.
All right, Will, what is your strategy?
That's a good question. I lie and say I'm here for the event with the children. And then I help get everybody drunk, and then and
He's
then
at the
find out all
cocktail
the
party going shots.
yeah, that's right. And then I
Wait,
get
so
all
you're
the
like, I'm
juicy
here
info I
for the
need.
children. Let's get drunk.
Let's get wasted. Yep. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to go smoke some stogies down at the cabin, and yeah, and you're set.
All right, I'm going to make that persuasion for you.
Sweet.
You can Google roll a D20, I think, and
Yeah.
probably is faster than what I just did.
Really? I don't know.
Mhm.
And I'll also give you a +2 because I would say as a journalist, you'd probably be decent persuasion.
So I just hit it one time and tell you what I got.
Yep.
So 17.
Okay. +2, that's 19. So
So we're all hammered, and I win.
against all odds, you
Yep. I need to get hydrated ASAP, is what I'm hearing.
the second that they hear that you're there for the children, they're relieved because no one really wanted to plan that event. I mean, fuck them kids. They are very happy to shirk the responsibility onto you, and even happier when they find that you are offering them booze. And quickly, prefer all of the secrets of Eldovia.
Nice. This episode of Bluey is called Alcohol. Yep. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
Yeah,
Well,
get them spill the tea.
Good job, Will, successfully infiltrating the castle without masquerading as a tutor.
Yeah, because it would have been game over, man. It would have been math for maybe a little bit, but I think maybe we could have done vertices and stuff like that. But like, yeah, once you get to like pre-calc, oh god, or even calc. Anyway, I digress.
Just the way math is done now, like I'd be busted immediately because like I don't know how to
Common
like, do
Core
the new math. Yeah, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah,
you're at this advanced level. They're like, dude, it's basic arithmetic. What are you talking about? Like, oops.
Whatever you say, kid. Yeah.
As with all great students and teachers, it's really the students who teach me, you know.
Solid.
Well,
very nice. Well, congrats, Will.
Thank you.
Well done on storming the castle. I will now pass it back to Chris.
not a whole lot of wrap up to do because all of our films this month are going to be nominated. So Will, I am picking your film next, which is Violent Night. Came out in 2022, I believe, and stars David Harbour as a extremely violent Santa Claus who is fucking up bad guys. So it's kind of Die Hard meets the Santa Claus, right? Is that basically the gist of it?
Yep. That's all you need to know.
Maybe a little bit of Home Alone. I'm very excited too. I've not seen it. Have you seen it, Will? Or did you pick something that you've been wanting to watch but haven't?
No, I watched it last year and I thought it was entertaining. And I figured, look, I chose Die Hard last year for a Christmas movie, so I should just keep the good times rolling, man. Don't try to change it. So that's why.
Amazing. I like it. Yeah. I'm always a fan of like Christmas genre films that are not just Christmas, like as the genre. So action, horror, you know, raunchy comedies, you name it. I think like it's always a good time to have one that can be successful, you know, against all odds, because some mashups are, I think, harder to pull off than others. And this looks like a lot of fun. But it's
after we watch it, you have to tell me if you think that Santa Claus could take Godzilla. That's your homework.
I'm just gonna measure up everybody. Now, retroactively, Elizabeth Bennet, like, do we think just go back into all of our characters? Yeah. I'll report back. More entertaining would probably be like Santa Claus or John Wick. We'll see like who we think would come out there. But I'm looking forward to it. And we appreciate you hanging out with us, of course, for another week of Screen Quest. You can find us at Screen Quest Pod on X, and hopefully in the very near future on Instagram. We might do some more media like focused promotions, which should be a good time. We might abandon X altogether, which I think like whatever, you know, it's probably high time given what that climate is like lately. But we love you. Thank you for all the support. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.